Well, Mom, you told us a little bit about your Lewis aunts and uncles and cousins. Now, what about the Puett side?
Well, they just lived a block away from each other, and Mama was the oldest child in her family,
And her name was Carrie.
Carrie Puett,
Mm-hmm.
and she had her brother, I think, was the next child, and Uncle Bub is what we called him, because that's what all his sisters called him, and everybody else.
Do you know his name?
John Froneberger.
John Froneberger Puett?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And he was married to Aunt Sally. She came to Dallas as a school teacher, and they got married and lived in a little house sort of close to our family. And they had 11 children, I think.
I remember that little house.
It was a little house.
Yeah.
And they had all these girls and all these boys. I think 11 of them lived. And all the girls graduated from college, and some with advanced degrees and all this and that. And all the boys stayed right there in Dallas, weren't the least bit interested in going to school, college, or anything. But they all were interested in farming and stock trading and all that sort of stuff.
Uh-huh.
But I always thought it was funny that none of the boys, well, one boy became a lawyer. He had fought in World War II, I guess.
Mm.
And after he got home from that, he lost an eye in that war. But he went to college and graduated from law school and became a lawyer.
Yeah.
But none of the rest of them were interested.
Huh.
So, anyway, there's a whole bunch of those.
And this was Amy and that bunch?
Amy was the youngest one,
Uh-huh.
yeah. And Annie,
Yeah.
and
Corinne.
Sarah, Corinne,
Bud.
Bud,
Tom,
and
maybe?
John Coppage. We called him John Copp all the time because I had a brother, John.
Yeah. And this was
A
Sam's?
year,
Oh.
Sam was one of
Uh-huh.
them. And, well,
Anyway,
Bill. Anyway, there were
a
about
lot of
11.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awful nice people
Yeah.
and lots of fun.
Okay. So
And
Carrie and John and
Aunt Bess was the next. She was a girl and went to college and med school and became a doctor. And I remember riding in the horse and buggy when she would make calls out in the country.
oh gosh.
And she was one of the first women doctors
Mm-hmm.
around.
But she didn't live long.
Well, she married a preacher who came to town, a Presbyterian minister, so when they were married, they lived down in the eastern part of the state, and she didn't practice medicine
Huh.
after she married.
Well, that was a shame.
Yeah, it really was. And they had several children, but they all were born dead or died
Huh.
at birth, never lived.
Huh.
But then, just before antibiotics were discovered. She had an infection in the fatty tissues around her heart,
Huh.
and she knew there was no cure for it and
Oh.
that she was going to die, and that her husband needed a new raincoat, but she thought,
What?
yeah, she didn't buy him one for Christmas because she decided his next wife could do that. But anyway, he is Nita Lacy's
Yeah.
father
Yeah.
because he married Mama's youngest sister after Aunt Bess died,
Oh gosh.
and she was Juanita.
Uh-huh.
And
Did she buy him a raincoat?
I don't. She must have. I don't know. But they got married the summer that Bob and I were married.
Oh.
He was the minister at our wedding, and then they had this baby, Nita Lacy,
Sure. Sure.
who's still around,
Yeah.
lives in South Carolina. And let's see, who was next? Aunt Co was probably next. She never did marry, but she taught violin.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Did Ardelie go to college there too?
Well, I'm not sure. I think, well, Mama and Aunt Co and Aunt Bess and different ones went.
Uh-huh.
And anyway, who comes next?
After Aunt Co?
Must have been Ardelie. No,
Yeah, no.
not Ardelie. Aunt Bess, Aunt Anna.
Oh, sure.
And she went to college out of town and taught math, I think high school math,
Oh.
and was teaching in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, and married a widower there who had a large automobile. He sold Dodges, and he had one daughter, Virginia. And Virginia graduated from Randolph-Macon College, and then after that decided she wanted to go into nursing. So she graduated from nursing school after that and was living in New York. And I think it was when President Kennedy invited her to come to Washington to be a consultant or something.
Stepdaughter. Uh-huh.
And anyway, after she had been in Washington for a meeting or something, she came back to New York, where she lived and worked. And they had just started, while she was away that weekend, they had put in one-way streets.
Yeah.
And she stepped off a curb and a car going the wrong way hit her and killed
Oh
her.
my gosh.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh. I had no idea.
yeah.
Well,
And then
Ardelie, now Mom, we're hitting on to the
Okay,
10-minute mark. So
all
tell a
right.
little about Ardelie, and then
Ardelie didn't marry, and she taught in Winston-Salem. Well, she worked in Washington. She taught secretarial
Oh.
type and shorthand, stuff like that,
Okay.
in Winston-Salem. And Juanita then was the youngest child, and she taught French
Oh, I didn't
in
know
high
that.
school.
Uh-huh.
And she married Uncle Jones, who had been Aunt Bess's husband,
Yeah.
and they had Nita Lacy.